Hello everyone, welcome back to the Tech Sharmit podcast. Today I'm here with another special guest, Captain Uday Prasad, who is joining us from India itself. If I talk about Uday, then he is currently serving as a director and co-founder of ZedInfotech. Apart from this, as an planet influential mainframer, he has contributed a lot for this mainframe industry through his blogs and other educational content. So today in this episode, we are going to talk about Uday's remarkable 3 decade plus journey in mainframe technology, his contributions and his ideology. But before we proceed further, I would like to thank Uday for joining us today in this episode. And now I request you to please initiate the discussion by telling us something about yourself.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much, Amit. Thank you very much, Tech Sharmit. Very, very thankful to you. I am. First and foremost, this is an incredible opportunity to go live with you guys, on this platform. I've never done it before, to be honest, and I feel like I'm kind of, special person, and that's a kind of support that I get from teams like you. And I'm very thankful to you, very happy. To be honest, I was looking forward for something like this and was always yearning that something like this someday will happen, and that's what it has happened. So, Amit, thank you very much once again. Let's start.
All right, thank you for being here. And now, like as I mentioned, we will be discussing throughout your journey, like what all things you have witnessed so far in your 3 decades plus journey. So let's start from the beginning itself, because you have been in this industry space over 30 plus years of years. So can you just take us back to where your journey began and what drew you to this particular mainframe industry?
Uh, all right. Last 30 years. All right. Well, let me tell you, uh, let me take you back to 1977, 97. Probably, after 25 years at sea, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
fixing deck appliances, navigating through choppy seas, and going through the nuances of high seas and oceans, roaming across the world. Really stood at a crossroad.
Okay.
It was in my early 40s, that and I was a family man with kids, aging parents, and with zero tech background. I didn't even know, to be honest, what's the difference between a hardware and a software when I started my journey. But I had only one thing, a wild dream to become a software engineer somehow or the other. I enrolled myself in a 3 month mainframe course in 1997 in India. To be honest, failed miserably. Couldn't understand a single chapter of COBOL, let alone JCL, which looks like a Latin or Greek to those who don't know about it,
Correct.
or DB2, the relational database management system that we boast of on the mainframes. But let me tell you, the instructor or the faculty, he did one priceless thing for me. He scribbled names of the books on the whiteboard and copied them, like a lifeline for me.
Okay.
I went straight to the back bookstore from there after I remember and spent a fortune in buying all these things, probably exhausted my savings. But those books were my life savior. And remember, I had no safety net, again, a nautical term when I did that. For over a year, I lived inside all the pages of COBOL, VSAM, what DB2, CICS, and I practiced vigorously on my home PC. And at that time, IBM used to support, OS2,
Oh,
which is no more supported now with that from by IBM. It's you can say a crude mainframe simulator. During those days, it was there. I used a CD to load it on my PC, and that was a Herculean task as well. You know, but at that time, there was no new YouTube, no mentors, just me, my mistakes, and a family. I would figure it out, praying always for me.
hmm.
Then came the D-Day, when IBM's interview happened in the year 2000. Yeah, in the year 2000, the interview was grilling. Why should I hire you? This was the obvious question she asked me, the interviewer.
Correct.
You have never worked or really done any real hardcore project, on the mainframes, which was true. And my hands were literally, to be honest, sweating when I said, but I have to tell her that, ma'am, I don't want to lie to you, which I could have done. You know, I could copy fancy project names from the internet, but I won't do that because I'm a father, I'm a husband, and the only breadwinner left in my family. I do not want to start my career basis lies. I've given a 1 year of my life to learn this mainframe. Test me, please. Ask me anything on COBOL, JCL, DB2, VSAM, CICS, which you think that a fresher should know in order to fulfill the requirements of your customer. If I'm good enough, tell me now and take me in. And if I'm not, you know, well, you can reject me, but my request is you should tell me the gaps so that I will improve upon it.
Feedback. Yeah.
Probably this answer helped her, and she hired me on that day. Six
Okay.
months later, to be honest, I proved myself. There were no magic, there were no shortcuts, just grit and stack of books. And for 30 years, I have thrived in the mainframe, a field a computer science graduate fears to do it today. My story is not about talent. It is about reinventing yourself when everyone says it's too late. You understand? I hope
Yeah.
it answers my question, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's really very inspiring to hear your journey, like how you transition from your non-technical background to a technical career, and then starting with IBM, and then later on reaching a height where you are consistently contributing for the entire industry now as a tech influencer. So,
Yeah.
like in further in your journey, like you co-founded your ZedInfotech. So, what were those key moments that shaped your approach to the technology and education? Like, when did you start it? My first question is, when did you decided that it's time to co-found or to found the ZedInfotech?
Oh, okay. So if I remember the dates, it was exactly July 27, 2022 when I started
Okay.
ZedInfotech in Canada. But
Okay.
the question I believe you want to me to say that what key moments shaped my approach to technology
Yes, right.
and education, is that what? Yeah. Oh, again, very interesting question. And I hope that it will help the Generation G to understand what it is. I'm a man from sextant, the sextants that you use at sea to the
Mhm.
servers or the host computers on the mainframe. The first thing that I would like to tell over there is immersive learning at IBM itself. IBM taught me the importance of time-tested machine called mainframe, to be honest.
Yeah.
The dinosaur of the digital world,
Correct.
you know. But the turning point came when I realized that what is the importance of mainframe? Okay. What is the importance of the mainframe? How critical and crucial it is. During my training days, I just, learned everything what the books had to say. But when I actually started serving the customers, I realized how important it is. I saw the world moving towards savings and acquiring money and wealth, but how ignorant they were, when they started comparing other systems with the mainframe. They hardly realize, that 74% of the Fortune 500 companies are using mainframes, which controls the GDP of the world. And that was the
Hmm.
turning point why I thought, we should turn and basically educate the masses, especially the Generation G in India, what to talk
Yeah.
about other parts of the world. Because we are a young country, we're still young.
Yes, we
Okay,
are.
but having said that, I shortly realized that there is a acute shortage of vocational skills in India. Now there is a very thin line between the two, the academic training or the academic skills versus vocational skills. Many people, many literate and honest people have come and basically confided in me, Uday, how you could have done it. After all, you have not got any computer science graduate degree. How can you essentially be one of the best COBOL programmer in the world? And that's what I say to my students. Well, jokes apart, the importance of vocational training versus the academic one is highly misunderstood in India. And that kept on basically echoing in my mindset. I tried doing a lot and I still do that in India. But to my surprise, I realized that I am better understood outside India. And that was the real reason why I thought that I should do something outside India. And I found Canada to be a very good place at that point in time, to start off. And it was on July 27 in 2022 that we started with the help of my partners, what we call it as ZedInfotech today. I do have a sister concern right now in India, but
Mm-hmm.
nevertheless, my main focus is to basically enhance the networking and other things, in my ZedInfotech in Canada.
Okay.
So this is how basically, I transformed myself from a software engineer into a vocational trainer.
All right. And I think later on, Uday, you started the COBOL Excellence Center. So please explain a bit more about the center. Maybe some of the audience are not aware of this thing. So maybe you can just explain what exactly this COBOL Excellence Center is and how has it evolved over the years from the date when you started it.
Okay, so the COBOL Excellence Center, as the name basically talks about, it starts with the basics of COBOL first, the
Okay.
bit and bytes of COBOL, that
Mm-hmm.
something which is the backbone of the mainframe system. Even if you want to basically, change it, migrate it, modernize it, if you do not know COBOL, you can't handle it. And if you do
Correct.
not know COBOL, you cannot learn DB2 integrated in COBOL, or for that matter, CICS integrated in COBOL and stuffs like that. So
Right.
COBOL is the hardcore backbone, and that's the reason why I didn't call it as Mainframe Excellence Center, but rather I would like to call it as COBOL Excellence Center. So we grill our students, into COBOL. All right. We start from the basics and train them in and out and make them write dirty their hands, on the mainframe itself, which I give them life when we start training, so
Mm-hmm.
that they are able to code right from hello world. This is my first program. You see it in the spool. From there, right until the advanced stages of COBOL programming.
Yeah.
Once you have mastered the COBOL programming, as a matter of fact, as a mentor, I can tell you I have solved 50% of my problem because the student is basically dependent upon me.
Yes.
Because if he is good in COBOL, it hardly takes him time to basically pick up how will you use a vsam file, for example, you know, in COBOL program. How will he use a DB2 SQL statements and embed it in a COBOL program to basically access the database if he's not interested in case if he's not interested in accessing the data from vSAN? And above all, not only that, if he knows COBOL, it's easy for me to explain or teach him
Correct.
CICS, customer information control system, which I keep very near to my heart, honestly, whereby he learns to design and code something which the world doesn't know, the pseudo conversational program, to be honest, which is
Mm.
only one, and that is on the mainframe using CICS. You see?
Yes.
So that's what it is.
Okay. And during the research, I found that you have like by your own you have created the entire training material by yourself. So how do you ensure that it's both technical rigorous as well as the it is relevant for the today's enterprise environment? Like what approach do you follow in order to build your learning material? Is there any specific books that you refer or any particular blogs or content that you refer while designing your courses?
Yeah, sure. Uh, so you see, there are three basic qualities,
Mm-hmm.
which I follow, which
Okay.
I kind of am very fanatic about it. The first one is, hard work. I don't believe in smart work. I believe in hard work. That's what my father taught me.
Mm-hmm.
Second, sincerity. All right. Do whatever you want to do with sincere outlook. You have to be very sincere. And the
Yes.
third is your honesty. I still believe, or rather, I believe, that honesty is still the best policy in the world.
Correct.
These are the three things that I teach to my students. And if you do consider it, if you understand the intricacy of it, if you combine all these things, everything come on our own. So, though my journey into IT started, from merchant navy, high seas into uh, information technology, or that also in the mainframes.
Yeah.
And as I told you, one of my instructors, one of my faculty, basically helped me with so many books that, that's the best thing that he did. And I still kind of respect him. I have a very beautiful library of my own. You know, I bought those books way back in 1996, renowned authors. And I'm very happy to say that they're still meaningful. I mean, They are still meaningful. And if I were to show you, for example, my most favorite book that I can show you is this. If you can see in my on the camera, are you able
Yes, we
to?
can see.
Yes, this is COBOL, Stern and Stern, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I bought this in 1996. And this is the
Okay.
Bible. This taught me everything on COBOL. I was never born with it. Neither I knew anything about COBOL to start with. As I told you, I didn't even know what is the hardware or the software, to be honest. All right. But this book taught me everything. And even today, I find it very relevant with respect to the changing times and the new things that came. I handled all my customer queries when I was working. I started with a simple, a programmer and grew up, became a team lead, became a project manager, became a senior project manager and a delivery manager and delivery head, but hardcore technical using these books. One of the other author whom I'm very fan of, I mean to say, is
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Doglow. Let me show you the book. Here,
Yes,
this
please.
one. Yes, yes. Look, have a look.
Yes, yes.
you know, these were bought in 1996, sir, and I still preserve it. This is the most beautiful asset that I've ever, invested into. I've got so many books on me, which honestly I can show it to you. But then, so by keeping myself abreast with these books, I'm able to keep myself relevant.
Right.
If you refer to the IBM's manual, the red books and all, you've got more than 20,000 books over there, the manuals. And the worst thing is, even if you pick up soft copy or a hard copy, it is not only meant for the programmers, but it's also meant for the system guys, the system programmers. When you open it and read a fresher or somebody who's wanting to learn COBOL or things like that, it's meaningless to him. It's very difficult to basically follow the IBM's manual and learn these things. So for COBOL, I use Stern and Stern. For DB2, I use Steve Eklund. If I were to show you, my book also I have somewhere. Yeah, that's here. You see DB2,
DB2
there are
computer.
two volumes of it. Yeah, DB2 by Steve Eklund. I still use them, refer to them, refer to it, I mean to say. Now, these were the books that were basically at that prevalent at that point in time. But today, as I speak, I keep on basically, you know, uh, investing more and more in creating more libraries. There are new authors who are coming up every day. You find them in Amazon, you find them, otherwise in the bookstores, and you
Yeah.
have to be on hunt. you know it is something like a regular process learning. If you want to teach, you got to learn, and
Correct.
that's what I do. Learn and then teach. I hope that answers you.
Yes, it does. And in fact, like this is a great learning for all those, especially those students who are pursuing their graduation. So, because what I have witnessed so far, like people mostly like nowadays, people are referring the soft copies, blogs, and YouTube content. That is fine. Like you should follow those as well. But along with those, uh, there should be some good stuff like books, the collection you have. So similar kind of books if you have, then you can do it practically. You have book, just learn it from the book
Exactly.
and then try to implement the things into your system. Then it would be
Into your
much more
system,
easy for
practice
you.
it.
Practice,
Yes,
yeah.
right. Exactly. You're echoing the same thing what I mean. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So Uday, now we will talk about mainframe because we all know that mainframes are often viewed as a legacy platform. Yet you have published
Oh yeah.
extensively on their relevance. So my first question is, why do you believe that it is continue to critical today? And another my question is regarding your perspective for the modernization as well as migration. So maybe one by one you can answer both the questions.
Oh yeah. So I would basically also kind of send a pointers. I've written few blogs on LinkedIn also on this topic. This is
Mm-hmm.
honestly speaking one of the best of my favorite topic because I
Okay.
feel that the Generation G in India especially need to know it. Now let
Mm-hmm.
me see how to basically frame it so that I don't mix around. So we are talking about mainframe and we are talking about, is it a legacy system first and foremost? Let's
Yeah.
understand this. Okay. All right. To be honest, mainframes are not legacy.
Okay.
They are original. They are the best cloud that the world has got today. There's a difference. The new guys are talking about the clouds. We are talking about the originality, which is basically the mainframes. You see, that's my first point. Now, when
Okay.
I say that, You talk about the current, systems that you have on the clouds. They talk about platform as a service, infra as a service, software as a service. All these services, the PaaS, the IaaS, and the SaaS, are
Mm-hmm.
basically, the new names to the old system that, in fact, was created and invented by IBM way back in 1950s.
Yes.
Today, IBM has woken up, and that's very nice. They are coming up with something that is called as MAS, Mainframe as a Service, which combines IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, all
Okay.
three together. The software as a service, the platform as a service, and infra as a service. If I have to write a COBOL program to teach my students, for example, or
Mm-hmm.
if I'm a businessman and if I have to own the or rather run my business on COBOL and mainframe systems, I don't need to buy the server. I don't need to buy a mainframe. I can do the same thing what the cloud guys are doing. Pay as you use. Pay as you use.
Yes.
That's a model for the cloud.
Correct.
So we don't basically bring the server in my home. God knows how costly it will be, but I can write everything that I like. If I have the access to the mainframe and if I pay the rentals, I can do that. And that's the best part that IBM has come up. But probably they were too late into it. You know, the clouds basically took advantage of the fact that we were, not talking about it. And they came up with all these fancy sugar-coated words. And the worst part is, who has got most affected? The most the guys who have been affected are the younger generation. For no fault of theirs, they are misled that mainframes are legacy and it has to be basically migrated into new systems. And then
Correct.
now comes the other word which you asked me, migration, and that's my another very favorite topic.
Mm-hmm.
Many companies are rushing to modernize by migrating COBOL to Java or to the clouds, but how many have done their homework? Let me tell you a very important thing.
Yeah.
You see, there is something called as 74 COBOL and 85 COBOL. All those who are COBOL coders will agree with me that there was a huge difference between 74 COBOL and 85 COBOL.
Mm-hmm.
Most enterprises still run on primitive 74 COBOL, which was unstructured, not very user friendly, hard to debug, and inefficient as compared to COBOL 85. Now, what does that mean? The companies who are outsourcing the mainframe operators are basically giving it to the third party vendors who are not paid to improve the code. They are
Mm-hmm.
paid on an hourly basis to keep it running. So
Correct.
nobody is bothering to see the source code which is running in the production and download into the testing environment to check whether it is 74 COBOL and 85 COBOL. You ask a COBOL programmer today, how will you differentiate between a 74 COBOL and 85 COBOL upfront, and they're taken aback. The simple thing
Mm.
that a full stop can do, a period can do in COBOL is miraculous.
Okay.
They invented a scope terminator, which was basically to be used after COBOL 85 came into picture, and the full stop or the period, simple technical thing, has to be put on the last line of every paragraph, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 74 COBOL, they used to put period, on all the lines, which many people do not know. Our COBOL programmers, our young guys, when I talk to them, our managers who are working into it, when I talk to them, they are never aware of this. Now, how does it matter? That matters, you see, because if you do your house scope keeping properly, if you change your system, from 74 COBOL to 85 COBOL, you have won half the battle.
Hmm. Right.
You can optimize. Why do you want to migrate? Why do you want to basically modernize? To basically optimize, to save the cost, right? That's the whole idea. But they don't ever are able to do it because they are working on a half cooked food. They have not basically realized the hard truth about COBOL. You know, that's the most important thing that we have to understand. See, the mainframe costs are based on CPU usage, which the cloud vendors exploit to push costly, risky migrations.
Yeah.
You see,
Got it. Yeah.
so that's where the companies are paying because they do not know they are being misled by the vendors who basically are supposed to be the masters of COBOL, but they don't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So my proposition to the corporate world is, if at all you are wanting to basically migrate on the name of optimization, first do your homework well. Do the housekeeping. See if your COBOL is basically in which version it is. Spend money to change it to COBOL 85 and look into the difference of the kind of efficiency as well as cost saving.
Opens, yeah.
Take the example of Coca-Cola. You know, I mean, this is a long a story of the past. They changed
Mhm.
over from Oracle to DB2. And here what they're saying, the CIO, the CTO, and the other kind of people in the organization, how efficient they became after they changed over to DB2. There are so many examples like that.
Mm.
So do your housekeeping well, then not only that, you have to also do one more thing, adapt mainframe as a service. Talk to IBM. There are so many service providers who will do that for you. Your system
Yeah.
is running on the mainframe. You don't need to basically migrate on the name of optimization just because people do not know COBOL. You teach them COBOL rather than teaching them or investing in Java. Java is
Correct.
20-year-old as it is. What we are going to do 20 years, I mean, what we are going to do maybe 10 years later than this, when it becomes also an old language, then we basically try to change it to some another language and we keep on doing it. One migration is costing millions of dollars, you see.
Correct.
So if a CTO thinks that the mainframes are outdated, ask them very simple question. Can you handle a 2.5 billion transactions daily with zero downtime?
Mm.
$1 million question. You see, there is a huge difference between 2.5 million and 2.5 billion.
Billion, yeah.
So,
Huge
you
difference.
see, it is high time, my friend, and let the world know about it, that we stopped calling them as legacy and we start calling them what they really are. The world's most proven cloud is the mainframe,
Yes, right.
right?
Yeah, I think with this explanation, most of the myths are already debunked, and those who are from the mainframe industry, they can easily relate the things with their system, and they
Yes,
know the how
absolutely.
precious their system is. So thanks for debunking the issues. And now, like, we will talk bit about the support system, because as a mentor, as a founder, you have touched so many lives, right? But I just wanted to know, like, who were those key people in your life who have helped you in your journey, maybe as a friend, family member, mentors, or maybe as a student as well. So who were those key people for you?
Yeah. Yeah. Nice question. Uh, okay. You see, behind every stubborn mainframe evangelist, and that's what I
Mm-hmm.
call myself,
Okay.
there is a partner who tolerates your late night logging onto the system and debugging the codes, working silently, forgetting the world.
Correct.
So, behind every stubborn mainframe evangelist, that's what I'm trying to tell you, there is a partner who tolerates late night logging on into the system and debug the code and tolerate you. Yes, it's my wife, the ultimate debugger of my life's code, I will say, who has been most influential mentor, balancing my obsession to the main with the mainframes through her patience, wisdom, and while rendering me and reminding me, every time that COBOL can't run without love. So that's what I'll say. I hope it makes sense.
Yes. Okay. All right. So now, Uday, I just want to take one phrase from your end, which should justify your philosophy. Like, if you had to sum up your entire philosophy on teaching as well as mentoring in one sentence, then what would it be? And like, what phrase will justify your philosophy for the teaching and mentoring?
One sentence. Oh, okay, let me give it a try. That's a nice question, though. Thanks for that. Okay. All right. Let's take it like this. You
Mm-hmm.
see, swimming cannot be learned in theory.
Yes, I
Neither
agree.
a battle or rather battles are worthless without a scar on your body. Learning just theory on the mainframe is unpractical without actually coding and dirtying your hands.
Hmm.
You must suffer through the same debugging nightmares that every COBOL programmer suffers in order to become an expertise, in
Yeah.
order to become an expert in it, so that you emerge unshakable and victorious. That's my message to the Generation G, who
Yeah.
can basically do this. To sum it up, I
Okay.
believe. I hope I did justice to it. I'm not very good in putting all the clients' words together, but I hope I'm doing it.
No, it is really worthy. Okay. All right. So, Uday, like we all know, there are plenty of things regarding mainframe that we can discuss here in this podcast, but we have limited time. So,
Yes,
just to
yes,
uh, ask my last question, which is related to your hobbies as well as your blogging, because we know that through blogs also you have contributed a lot for this industry. So here I would like to ask two questions, just to wind up this discussion. One is how
yes.
where the audience can find out your blogs and what all core topic that you cover through your blogs, and another is apart from those blogging and technical thing, what key things you perform, maybe what are your core activities that helps you to stay inspired and motivated.
I see. Okay. So one of the best ways to basically reach me would be
Hmm.
through LinkedIn. I'm
Okay.
very active in it and I keep on responding to everybody who responds over there. Yes, I have my
Hmm.
own community in the mainframe world and I do not gossip over there. I just put in my thoughts and the technical steps. Follow me on the LinkedIn, Captain Uday on the LinkedIn. You should be able to find me there.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I've also created one of my personal website, which is called Captain Uday on mainframe.odoo.com. O-double-O-D-double-O.com.
Okay.
That website, you will find my blogs, which basically even Planet Time in America, they recognized it. Whatever I write on the blog, in the link on the LinkedIn, I keep writing there. I have put
Hmm.
it as a repository over there, so that you know people can read from there, download it at your own distance. So lots of blogs you will find there, more than almost reaching 50 now, and I've got so much of them I'm not getting time to upload more, but I'll do that.
Okay.
So that's how you can reach me. And the next thing what you asked me was about
About
my
your
hobbies, is
hobbies.
that right?
Yeah.
Okay okay. To be honest, when I mean, most of the time I'm busy into this thing, no time much left. But you see, when I'm not wrestling with COBOL,
Hmm.
you get into the core dumps to find out what's the basic debugging things. You get into that. You will find me mostly engrossed into physical activities like playing badminton and
Okay.
or even gardening. These are my two very favorite hobbies, I can say. I love playing badminton and I do gardening also. I'll bring you the similarities. When you prune, or when you're doing a gardening, when you prune, or when you're cutting, or checking the tomato vines in your
Hmm.
garden, in your veggie garden, kitchen garden, it teaches the same lesson as when you are refactoring a spaghetti code in COBOL. You know,
Okay.
Number one, patience. Number two, precision, so that you know that you have to basically cut it, ruthlessly. When you see a spaghetti code, you have to cut it. When you
Correct.
see a tomato vine which is not doing well in the garden, you have to prune it, you have to cut it. So you have to be ruthless over there. But anyway, that's just a drawing parallel. So I hope that basically helps, to answer about my hobbies, to make it slightly more
Yeah.
in a lighter vein. Yes, these are my two hobbies. I hope I answered your question, sir.
Yes, you answered. And thank you so much, Uday, for joining us today in this episode and for sharing your expertise with everyone. I'm sure, like those who are from the mainframe background, they will reach out to you for further guidance and they will also learn through your blog. So, thank you once again for being a part of the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you really very much, Amit. You are doing a great job, and we need people like you to tell the world and use us to basically let them know what we can do for them if they're interested to learn the mainframes.
Thank you.
Thank you.